Hey everyone, RemanX here, and we're going to start talking about this team. Starlight T'Challa is Cha-Cha for short, is going to be upon us relatively soon. Looks like a Blitz release, and we're going to go over some of the things about this team that I like, some of the things about it that I'm kind of worried about, but more importantly, what they serve and the purpose they serve for you. So let's start with the basics. They're actually a pretty good war offense team. Probably a third to fourth from the top, maybe a fifth. They're basically built to solve a couple of problems. They do really well against the Mercs. They're a flex team against some additional teams. But I want you to think about it. What they're really good at is if any team has any buffs, they take them away. So teams that rely on built-in defense on spawn, teams in engineering, teams in cargo bay, or correction, take two, bridge now, since the evolution of the war, they're going to yank those buffs off and take advantage of them and really benefit from it. So what is going on with this team and who should build them? And it's such a challenge here. So a couple of pieces of the puzzle. Ravager Stitcher does all he needs to do if you pair him with Cha-Cha in Dark Dimension 5. The people that are using him in the Cosmic find that he's okay enough to get him through. But is he exceptional? No. That being said, they're surprisingly good against teams that, if they can survive the initial onslaught of Eternals, they can potentially beat them. So, what about Star-Lord T'Challa? So, he is a long-term character, but I see him as more of Zemo. And I compare him to Zemo more and more every day, and I want you guys to think about this very clearly. What team did Zemo get when he came to the game? Well, he got Crossbones, Winter Soldier, Hydra Grenadier, and a fifth unknown that hasn't really kind of arrived yet. You can use some other options. I like Red Skull, depending on if you built them on offense or defense, or you built them up for defense or not. That's a whole nother story. So this is kind of that bridge, right? As he's really kind of coming to the game and he's offering unique ability. So what is so good about Star-Lord T'Challa? Well, he's not your tech solution. He's a partial bridge to the future for a tech solution. And just like Zemo was, you're still going to get everyday use out of him, and he's going to be something that's going to be a plug-and-play character, even if you don't invest in the Ravagers. So Cha-Cha is a character I think that a lot of us are probably going to be okay going all in on. The fact that he has one of the most unique abilities in the game with his energy drain. But the problem we find is can you land the blind to make it happen? So any teams that have immunity on spawn, things like that, aren't going to have that stolen energy. You have to just wait a turn. Remember, both abilities have full energy at the start. It's almost better to copy all. So use the ult first and then special. So another key thing about him that kind of makes him built for the future is the fact that he actually has speed bar gain. So one of the more important things that we look for a character is he does have speed bar gain. So if you kill a character, he gains additional speed bar and can really go off. So something about him says that he's definitely built for the future. So let's talk about the team. Let's talk about how we're recommending building them. And I'm about to lock in some ISOs and some recommendations here. So first things first, in war, as a war offense team, Ravager Boomer assists 100% of the time with the team with the right T4s. Now, again, these are an exceptional amount of T4s. This is not for the faint of heart. This is not for people who don't care about war. This isn't for, people who haven't clicked the button to hit equip at some point with these characters, or didn't pull a 7 red star on Boomer and are trying to justify the expense. This is not easy to do, and it's really hard for me to talk about. So if you check some of those boxes, please proceed, but proceed with caution. So he assists, so he becomes the default skirmisher. That means that there's two strikers, Yondu and Stitcher. Now Stitcher has an exceptional striker ability, with the piercing damage and the ability to pretty much delete characters without the chance for res on both his basic and his assist counter, so his ISO ability makes him a very unique character indeed. Now, we're going to talk about something else here. Ravager Bruiser for me is a skirmisher. I wasn't getting any of his buffs or his he basically flips buffs and applies like things like disrupt. It wasn't working enough for me in testing, so I made him a skirmisher because I feel like in a lot of the counters that we're going to be using him on, specifically against mercs, we kind of wanted that to happen, and without that extra function, it just wasn't enough focus to make it happen. So now comes the big problem, Cha-Cha. So the size of your Cha-Cha matters. Despite what anybody tells you, the more red stars you have on it, the more stars, the more powerful it is. Now, he is probably something that I think people don't realize, that damage number, okay, 235 plus 17% piercing, even though there's no effect on it as a striker, he is probably one of the best strikers in the game. If he can score that extra kill, give himself the 30% speed up, and cycle through his abilities quick enough, you can get some exceptional damage off. So I kind of want him as a striker, but I'm going to think most of us are going to line up with skirmisher because you have to land the blind. Okay, you need to understand this, right? You have to land the blind. It's a two-step process. But once the blind happens, the steel energy doesn't get resisted. That's just yoinked from the character there. So I think he's probably going to wind up as a skirmisher. Now, I think a striker potentially in raids below 2.3, but definitely a skirmisher above that. Now, if you have a 7 red star, and I think this is the problem where we're seeing these characters, because I don't think that this is lost on a lot of folks here, that from a damage perspective, he is no slouch when it comes to the damage department. Right? He is going to be absolutely deleting folks. So he's no joke when it comes to overall power level. But that's a 7 red star, right? So, that's not something that you're going to be able to guarantee yourself unless you put massive upgrades, spend to get him, and core him out at the beginning. So last year during the 1.0 raids and into 1.1, Zemo showed up and gave us an answer to skill that we didn't already have. The ability block, the slow, and giving us that kind of edge is realistically what's going to happen with Cha-Cha. He's going to give us the ability to kind of bridge the gap until we get a real team. Now, by all means, if you don't need him right now, don't build him. I think he's exceptionally built for the future, and I think most of us will get some use out of him. I don't regret my investment in Zemo. I didn't take him to Dark Dimension 4, but I could have. I use him every day. I use him in war. I use him in raids on occasion. There are some times I test him out over other skill characters. There's the 5th with the Secret Avengers on some nodes. He still excels. He's one of my 5th on war offense with my Axemen. He is, by all means, the best 6th man, borrowing from a basketball reference, in case any of you guys, sports ball, right? In the game. Silver Surfer kind of fits that role, but his longevity, despite his low health, which is we're seeing as a hallmark of this guy, his speed and his ability to do that first turn ability block has given him enduring capabilities. So unique ability with the energy drain. There isn't anybody else that can replicate that for now. So Cha-Cha is that important. And you can see that copying those buffs are going to be all about positioning, right? So using that special in the right turn order to copy evades, copy immunities, copy defense up, copy death proofs are going to be how you keep him surviving. So he actually is probably going to be one of those characters that theory crafters really love. So what about the rest of these guys? So what happens if you don't have Cha-Cha and can't get him from blitzes? They're okay. I don't think that they're solving a lot of war problems. You can use them. They're probably better than power armor is right now, to a certain degree, but they don't have the extra speed up edge that they get from power armor. They work very, very similarly because they do have some additional buffs that happen in war when you put them together. But Cha-Cha, unfortunately, is kind of like a non-legendary anchor for this team. So if you're not getting Cha-Cha, I have a hard time recommending the Ravagers. Now, again, Ravager Stitcher, for those people who are rushing to complete Dark Dimension 5, is a cheap option. But it doesn't mean that he's the best option. He'll save some of your tech resources if you're tech heavy. But I mean, honestly, there aren't a ton of tech characters that have exceptional value when we're talking about Dark Dimension 5. I'd rather take characters that I think have a lot more utility and plan on those in the future. Obviously, Doctor Doom, Dr. Octopus, Kestrel, Lady Deathstrike, Misty Knight, Nebula, Shuri are probably ahead of Stitcher, even though they take more resources. I don't think you're competing a lot for that. So anyway, I do things so you don't have to. We're going to be showcasing the Ravagers relatively soon. You guys have my ISO suggestions on there. They're going to be complete. We're not going to lock into Cha-Cha until we get some more testing. We're going to test them at all different levels to see what he really needs to land that blind/energy drain at 2.3. I really couldn't get that testing done in the test server. So we're going to get that done for you ASAP. Probably just go with a 3-star, go into that raid that day and try to spend our way through the tech nodes to figure out if he offers enough at lower levels. Thanks again. Be kind to each other. I know there's a lot of rumors going out there. Remember, rumors and speculation are fun. And I will say this out loud. The Ravagers are a fun team to play. And at the end of the day, isn't that why you play video games? Catch you soon.